We're fine. Everything's great.
Or we just have a lifted drag car.
Welcome to episode 2. In the last episode, we finished taking out the motor, the transmission, the rear end, and every bit of wiring that's in the car. Now we're starting with a clean slate. Today, Cody's on the engine and transmission. He's gonna pull it off the cradle so we can put the cradle back on and start scanning for mounts and whatnot. Alex is prepping to cut the rear out. This way we have a better understanding what our new solid rear end's gonna look like, and also we could kind of start planning out where our 4 links are gonna end up. Hopefully we get the cradle back in and we start mocking up our new inline-six hurricrate motor with the 8-speed transmission, and then we have a better idea of what our solid rear end's gonna look like in the back there. First mock-up of the day. I put the 8-speed transmission on just like a furniture dolly we had laying around the shop and kind of shoved it into the tunnel, as you can see here, just to get a rough idea of where we're gonna have to cut this out. And the more we do this, the better it looks, because it's not a whole lot. We are gonna cut just right here and straight up the firewall, and then straight back down. It's less cutting than expected, which is a good thing. And that means less things we have to cover back up. I'm gonna get my Sharpie and a Sawzall and go at it.
Oh, dude, this thing got a ton of reinforcement.
Yeah, this is a good chassis.
Yeah, solid.
All right, so I'm taking apart the cradle right here. With our rack, it wouldn't fit with the new motor going in. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap the knuckles actually. That way, the steering rack's gonna be on the front of the motor instead of the back of it, because we need space. Space on this thing is very, very tight. So we're kind of playing it by ear. We're figuring it out as we go.
We're at the rear end right now, scanning it. Got to make mounts for the 4-link. I got to figure out where all the 4-link needs to be. So with this, I can get all the relative positions of the wheel well, which is really important for centering the axle. But the big problem with this is I need a place to mount shock absorbers. This car never needed to worry about hard launches before, at least not all on the rear end. So we might need to reinforce some spots, but we'll see. We'll get to that when we get to it.
We're about to make the transmission and the motor. Once it's on, then we can get it to the car and figure out how much is the car is going to be left after we cut it. We're going to cut a bunch of it out.
The engine and transmission are together now. Cody just finished up torquing down the flywheel bolts. And now that the engine and transmission are one piece, we're gonna put it onto our little dolly over there and dry fit it into the compartment. That's where it lives. That's it, boys. We've done it.
Done. Easy.
We put the first Hurricane engine in a Hornet.
Oh my God.
What?
Dude.
It's low?
It isn't low. It is a couple inches into the ground. Oh my God.
How good? I shoved the engine back, lifted it up, so it's very close to its final resting place. Now we're gonna move forward with actually starting to think about how everything gets mounted and how everything gets placed. The biggest hurdle I think we're gonna have moving forward after this is the steering rack. We have to move the steering rack from being pressed up against the firewall forward. So we're test fitting the cradle now, see how much of it we have to cut. Originally I was just gonna cut it like in 2 pieces, but if we can save it, I'll try to save it as 1 piece. It's just easier to put back together that way. Normally I would say ditch the stock cradle and we'll build a new one from scratch, but time doesn't allow that. We have to work with what we got, and we have to be efficient with our time, or else we're not gonna get this done. Cradle looks really good. really good. It looks like we just have to slightly trim it just to clear like an oil filter or the transmission pan. But dude, it looks good. It looks really good. I'm really glad we didn't cut it in half immediately. So let's get it back in, and then we'll slide the steering rack, right? And then we'll kind of figure out where we need to put this steering rack, because I'm really hoping we don't have to lift the engine up anymore.
I guess I just get the knuckles aligned where we want them.
Yeah, because you took them off from the lower ball joints, right?
Yeah, and then I swapped them though. Do you want to keep? Do you want to put the rack behind?
No. We're gonna have to. The rack didn't fit. It slammed into the transmission. There's no way of us making that work. So back to our original plan, which is to move the steering rack forward.
All right, let me get the bolts on.
Originally going into today, I had the full intention of making a mess out of this cradle, and I was very much relieved when we didn't have to cut it, which saves us a tremendous amount of time. We tried to put the steering rack in the original spot. That didn't work out, so we went with our original plan and just moved it forward. Cody has put all the front suspension on. He cut the front axle, so now we have little stubs that we could put into the front hub so the wheel bearing doesn't fall apart. I'm super excited because this is the part where we start to make things. Disassembly is a lot of fun, but it's more fun when you actually build something and put something together. Yesterday, there was a lot of calculating and figuring out stuff. Now we know what the engine mount looks like. We know what the steering rack looks like. All the brackets are made. It's time to weld them together and actually make pieces. Alex figured out the rear suspension geometry, cut all the brackets on the table, and now he's welding them all up. Hopefully by the end of the day, the engine is suspended within the engine bay without our trusty 2x4s anymore. Later on today, we're gonna go pick up our rear end. It's just gonna be a lot of moving pieces today, a lot of fab work. Let's get to it.
I'm gonna weld our plates onto the chassis. These are what we're gonna weld our cross tubes on. That's why the hole is there. The hole is gonna place our cross tube in the exact right spot. So like these ones are right here. Cross tube, the other side. You want to show us what you got?
So we got a Fab 9 housing, thick wall tubes, Torino ends. It's all fully braced and strengthened inside. So should be in good shape.
Oh shit. Oh my God.
Dude, I drove this last week.
Well, it's been a week and we've been very, very busy.
Gee, I'll say, my God. So I flew in this morning from San Francisco, walked into the shop, was blown away as I always am with the amount of work that these guys did in a week on the Hornet. It's such a short wheelbase though. So when this thing launches, it's gonna be really interesting.
It's gonna be a handful to drive.
This is gonna be so terrifying and wonderful. I love this. It's not only gonna be competitive, but I think it's gonna surprise so many people, not only the other competitors, but the fans as well. So dude, when I walked in, I immediately saw this on the screen. So walk me through this. I'm assuming it's the rear end?
This is a rear end.
Okay, so 4-link, right? Everything put in?
Yeah, so believe it or not, solid rear axles are old technology, but they have a lot of benefits, especially when it comes to drag racing.
Okay.
So fully adjustable everything. You can see we have our points here. We got a lot of adjustability on this. This is going to allow us to change exactly how the car acts when it launches off the line. So especially in drag racing, solid rear axles are king.
So when we first brought the Hornet in, right? Because, you know, out of the box, it's independent rear suspension.
Yep.
Was that the first thing you're like, all right, we're going to take this out, get rid of it. We're doing a solid live axle. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy choice, especially on something like the Hornet, which is kind of designed to be this, let's be honest, it's kind of an economy car.
It's a little CUV.
It's not meant to handle a lot of horsepower,
right,
or have a lot of performance, anything like that. So easy choice, because what was in there, no way it could handle any kind of drag racing application.
Right.
With with rear wheel drive and this kind of power.
This is gonna be cool. Like I said, dude, I can't wait to get to Roadkill Nights because I think everybody's gonna look at this thing and just go, holy cow, this is amazing.
Mike, we want you to tear it up when you get into Michigan.
You might be driving, Bubba.
Oh. And the next season, I'll drive.
It's been a long 4 days. We actually got the engine mounts done. The engine is under its own weight. Alex did the first part of the 4-link that's in the back. He welded all the plates and got all the mounts situated. So in the next episode, we're gonna start welding up the rear and we start fabricating the transmission tunnel.